Good morning. I'm Anna from North East Animal Rights. Today we're in Newcastle from 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock at Gray's Monument. So come along and see us. We'd be absolutely delighted to see you. Today we're talking about the plight of pigs. We don't often talk in animal rights, and it tends to be generally about veganism and rather than the plight of pigs on their own. But thanks to people like Julie Galati from Viva, we can now truly appreciate the horrendously sad existence of these beautiful farmed animals. This outreach was also inspired by the activists who stand day after day, week after week, outside of a slaughterhouse in Teesside, who not only slaughter these beautiful animals on a daily basis, but also sell their body parts in a shop next door to the public, and also serve them up as food in a cafe directly next door. I'd also like to mention Regan Russell, who is a Canadian activist who lost her life. She was killed taking part in a save outside of a pig slaughterhouse as well. Now, I do have some facts for you from DEFRA. DEFRA is a Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Slaughterhouses and farmers provide this data to DEFRA so they can sort of keep an eye on what's happening in terms of slaughterhouse and meat production. All other animals which are being bred for food have seen a drop in production over recent years, albeit it is quite small, but it is obviously still going in the right direction for us. Sheep is down 8%, cows down between 1 and 2%, but pigs for some reason are up 5.2%, sows and boars are up 19%. Why is that? Why? In February this year, February 2021, 933,000 pigs were killed. That is in just 1 month, and it's a short month as well, so just 1 month. But also you can get historical statistics on the other, the other numbers of animals slaughtered around in the UK. It's a pretty commonly known fact that pigs have higher levels of intelligence than most dogs. I'm going to show you a couple of leaflets here, which are really, really good. This one from Viva. Okay. So it's the world's smartest sandwich, and within that it tells you some interesting fact about the pigs. The awful lives they have, but also how intelligent these beautiful animals are. The fourth in terms of animal intelligence behind chimpanzees, dolphins and elephants, but we use their names in many forms of insult. Your dirty pig, your greedy pig, lazy pig, sweating like a pig, your room's like a pigsty. But these are beautiful and highly intelligent animals. People say bacon, bacon though is just some sort of like cheap response to what you're doing. But these are truly horrendous facts of life for these beautiful animals. It's almost like the response of a naughty child. You sort of like telling a child off, and that's what they'll sort of like start laughing. So we get them bacon. But let's see if you can, if after I've told you some of these facts, if you still say these words and truly mean them, and think it's actually okay to say them. So a pig's natural lifespan is 20 years, but in factory farms, the piglets, the baby pigs, are slaughtered between 5 and 6 months old. So they really are still babies. The bodies are used in pork products, pig products, pepperoni, sausages and bacon, and 20% of piglets die before they are 4 weeks old. Undercover images, cameras have caught images of farm workers carrying out knocking piglets. This is an awful practice of where they they take piglets who are not going to be, they're not very strong, that the runts of the litter, and they're not going to be able to make money for them in terms of meat production. So they literally throw them against a hard surface to kill them. Animal Equality up in Scotland discovered, well, Animal Equality obviously is UK based, but they got some disturbing footage of animal suffering at P&G Slay Pig unit in Aberdeenshire, Scotland. The investigators actually filmed people standing on piglets' heads and using a hammer to kill them. And in the footage, you could see that the first blow didn't kill the animal. It was 2 or 3 blows after that. The pigs are writhing in agony, looking up at these people who are supposed to be looking after them, and these people are raining blows down on them with a hammer. This farm is actually owned by a senior pig industry figure called Philip Slay. He actually sat on the Quality Meat Scotland board. That's the equivalent of Red Tractor in England and Wales. His farm is no longer on, has this mark, and also he's been removed. He's not on the board anymore. But this farm was contracted by Pilgrim's Pride, who supplies Lidl and Tesco's and Marks and Spencer's, among other major restaurants and retailers. But in England, we are equally barbaric. The Red Tractor certification scheme, regularly has farms removed for the same reasons. People are misled into thinking that the certification actually proves the higher welfare standards. Higher welfare standards is an absolute myth. These animals die in the end. Let's make no bones about it. These animals are killed on the same slaughterhouse kill floors. Okay. And we have, you know, Hogwood, the expose by Viva again, Hogwood, Flathouse Farm. These are all, you know, red tractor farms. We have the certification and have them removed very quickly afterwards, because they don't want to be associated with bad welfare. But the bottom line is these people are falling, are slipping through the you know, under the radar all the times, over and over again. It's a massive marketing lie to try and get the public to buy into meat which is a less cruel life or more humane death. Humane meat is an absolute myth. It doesn't exist. Now, if we go on from the piglets to the mothers are killed between 3 and 5 years old. That's a reward to them for a miserable existence of being impregnated over and over again, every 5 months, and having the babies taken away. Sow crates, there's a big, you know, a kick up about sow crates a number of years ago, and they're now illegal. But what a lot of the public don't know is that farron crates are still legal. These are metal barred pens, which are so small that the mothers cannot step forward or turn around. They struggle to stand or lie down. If they are pregnant, and if they have given birth and their babies are feeding from them, they will literally, you know, they literally have to, the babies are crammed next to them where they feed from the mothers. But it's not uncommon for the mothers to accidentally crush the babies as well from feeding them because they can't move. The babies will stay with the mothers for 28 days. The mother is locked in a pen for a week before the birth, and the mothers who have repeated pregnancies, you know, forced pregnancies as well, and the babies are repeatedly taken away, have been noticed to show severe mental health disorders and actually going crazy, you know. Now, from time to time, the mothers are removed from from the time the mothers are, you know, the mothers have their babies removed and they go to slaughter. They have a miserable existence, mostly in cells with concrete floors. They can't display normal behaviours, which is a normal welfare standard. You know, when we have companion animals, people are told that the animals we keep have to be able to display normal behaviours, but these lovely animals can't. You know, they can't root around, they can't clean themselves properly. So bullying and cannibalism among the animals is very, very common due to the stresses that they go through. Pigs use mud and fresh air to cool down and have neither of them available to them in their cells. By law, they must have environmental enrichment. Now, this is an absolute joke, because this environmental enrichment can be as little as, and usually is, a football thrown into the pen or a chain hanging overhead for them to be able to bat backwards and forwards. But imagine being in this cell which you can't stand up in, you can't move around, you can't turn around. You have this chain backwards forwards or a ball. Seriously, that's not enrichment. You know, it's just adding insult to injury. When these abused animals, you know, the bodies can't produce any more babies anymore, and they will go to slaughter. They have the most brutal death waiting for us. They're loaded onto trucks, you know, probably the only time they're going to sniff fresh air. And lots of us as animal rights activists have seen the time when, you know, the pig snouts come forward through the vents in the truck to try and sniff the fresh air. This is the only time they're ever going to see it. They're loaded onto a truck, you know, and they are taken to their brutal slaughter. So when they're at the slaughterhouse, they're unloaded onto the kill floor. Groups of 5 or 6 are prodded onto a gas chamber, which will then suffocate them. The gas is usually 70 to 90% carbon dioxide. It burns the insides and their eyes. So let's just pause there for a moment. This is humane slaughter. This is methods which have been approved by the RSPCA and are used across the UK. They are suffocated by having their insides burned out with carbon dioxide. They can see each other dying in front of them as well. So all these distressed animals thrashing around in front of them, you know, suffocating and burning. The higher the concentration of the gas, the quicker is the kill. The quicker is the stunning process, but the higher concentration levels are more expensive. So the majority of slaughterhouses will opt for the cheaper option and prolong the agony. At the point where they're deemed ready for slaughter, they're then dropped individually into a holding container where their throats are cut and they bleed out. Okay. Now, obviously, we have processes, you know, where, you know, the RSPCA have vets who will check that everything is carried out in accordance with the law. They will do random spot checks, and they'll do audits as well. Some of us listened to Dr. Alice Brough, who was a veterinarian, who actually was one of these slaughterhouse vets. We listened to her at Vegan Campout. She is now a massive and powerful and vocal advocate for against animal slaughter. She has now realised that you can't have humane slaughter. You see these animals dying, and you know, she's come across cows and pigs who are pregnant, and they are being slaughtered, and the animals and the baby animals are coming out of the bodies as well, and they're obviously dying. Julie Gallatley debuted the last, obviously we couldn't have Vegan Campout last year, but the previous year they she debuted this. It's called You Invited to Hogwood, a Modern Horror Story. Okay, and it's presented by Jerome Flynn. Okay, so everybody knows Jerome Flynn from Soldier for the older people, and Game of Thrones for those for the younger ones. But he is a vegan, and he does a lot of work with Viva as well. So if what I've just described are these horrific processes, if that's not enough to stop you eating pigs and their bodies, you know, World Health Organization has classed bacon as a class 1 carcinogen, so a cause of cancer, and it increases cancer risks by 18%. You know, 18%, so almost 1 in 5 chance of you, if you regularly eat bacon, your chances of getting cancer related to eating meat has increased by 80%. It's also linked to high cholesterol, heart problems and strokes, and it's full of salts, fats, and very, very high in calories. When people say that they love the bacon smell, what they're actually smelling a lot of is obviously the fat, you know, the muscle tissue of the pigs and the meat, but yes, they're also smelling the salts and all of the herbs and everything to make it smell like that as well, to make it smell more enticing. The water footprint of producing pigs for food is 2.15 litres per calorie. Okay, that's almost double what it takes to produce vegetables. So 2.15 litres per calorie. If you imagine you have 1 rasher of bacon and how many calories is in that, and how much water has been used to produce that. And when we look at parts of the world which are struggling to have water, and we are wasting water on producing pigs for food. We have 1.9 people in the world who are undernourished. 1/3 of our global crops go to feed animals, and the carbon footprint of the typical meat eater is 12.4 pounds of carbon dioxide per day. Vegans is 6.4. Sorry, I keep on getting hair in my mouth because it's a little bit windy. And I mentioned before, a couple of weeks ago when I did about the environmental impact, the nitrous gases produced by pig farms, particularly in places like China and the US, but the UK is a big contributor to greenhouse gases as well. It's a major contributor to climate change. So after hearing all of this, can you really say bacon? Can you still say that it's worthwhile? You know, you've got the health risks to yourself. You've got the climate change risks. You've got these barbaric practices which are still classed as humane slaughter. Can you still say that it's worth it for a bacon sandwich? Worth these beautiful animals? You know, who will have the same capacity as these beautiful dogs here as well. You know, this is an Anna Malia leaflet which puts it very succinctly: friend of food. You know, pigs can show the same capacity for fear and pain, and they certainly do that when when you see them in slaughterhouse trucks going in to meet their awful untimely deaths. So a lot of the information I've got today is from obviously DEFRA website, from Viva, from Anna Malia, and from Animal Equality as well. So I always say, don't take my word for it for gospel. It's you don't have to believe every single word I say, but the information is out there. So do your research, you know, go out there, check the facts, and then come to the conclusion that the only solution really is to go vegan. Save these beautiful animals from dying, these untimely, awful deaths. Please go vegan for yourself, for the planet, but for the animals. So this is Anna Malia saying thank you very much for listening, signing off now and saying come along and talk to us in Newcastle. We'd be absolutely delighted to see you. Bye for now.